Imagine This Women's Film Festival. My name is Celia Giselle. I am a filmmaker, writer, director, producer, and I am so honored that Patrice reached out to me to moderate this block. A little bit about myself. I recently finished school, and actually this film festival was the first one that outside of my school's film festival that I participated in as a new filmmaker, and my senior thesis won Best Director last year. So I am so happy. It was my first oh yeah, I'm doing something right moment. So it just empowered me to keep going. And so I'm very, very happy to meet all of you. I've watched your films. They're incredible. And I'm just looking forward to this session with you all. So without further ado, how about we just go around, introduce yourselves, your films, and yeah, so does anyone want to go first? Samantha?
I'll go first since I can't control my laughter. I'm Samantha Lester. I'm the writer, producer, and actor of Spell It Out in Neon with Tammy Minoff. She directed our lovely little short film. What am I supposed to talk about myself now? Talk about the film? What do I do?
Yeah, I mean, that's good for now. Just
okay, great.
Yourself.
Great, thank you. Sorry, this is the first time we've done like a live Q&A, and this is all very new to me. This is kind of like our big, or my big, like we did it moment. Very grateful.
Oh my God, yes,
hey.
Love it. Anyone?
Well, hi, I'm Alana Spencer, and I'm the director of Good Short Film. I'm an Australian filmmaker, and I currently live in Melbourne. It's 3 a.m, so that's why it's a bit dark here.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning. So thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be up this early and yeah, talking with everyone.
Caitlin, you want me to do this?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I know you're like watching. I'm sorry, I never go on my phone, and so I'm like, how do I turn my mic off? And so
it's all good.
But Daniela, please go.
I'm Daniela Caggiano, and I am here with my intrepid writer, producer, star, Caitlin Wano here. We are the folks representing Untitled Sam Bennett Project. And
right.
It's not 3 a.m. where I am. Sorry to flex.
It's okay.
Thank you, Daniela. I'm Caitlin. I followed Imagine This for a while, so this is very fun for me. But I was sad that I didn't get to go to some of the events this week. But yeah, I'm the writer and actor in Sam Bennett, and I am at work, which is why I'm like, there are all these boxes behind me. But I'm really happy to be here with you all. So.
Excellent. Okay. So great work, ladies. Your films are so beautiful. Who should we start with? Okay, so I guess the first question is, I guess there were a lot of common themes within your project. So obviously like female role, faced with some kind of hurdle. And let's start with Good, Alana. That film, it's just so beautiful. Every shot is just stunning, and wow, I loved it so much. And yeah, I wonder, what inspired you to tell this story, and what was it like working with the actors? And yeah, let's hear about what it was like.
Yeah, so Good came about as my graduating film with a very good friend of mine, Balan Robleh, who is the writer of this film. And she's Muslim, and she's from the Somali community here in Melbourne. And this script had many sort of changes along the way, as many scripts do. But we sort of fell finally on, telling a story about FGM. And This, gosh, this film has just been such a journey. You know, from the beginnings of, you know, initially having the courage to tell this story, because we weren't quite sure how it was going to be received. And, you know, from then trying to cast and trying to authentically cast, that was quite important to us. And so, you know, we really struggled to find actors. And so we actually ended up casting real people that had never had any acting experience or camera experience. And but that ultimately brought just such a raw and authentic, beautiful, you know, ness to the film. And the sisters are actually sisters in real life, you know, and so they were able to just bring so much love for each other and just put that into the characters. And yeah, I mean, along with many, like any films, there was many filming challenges, but everyone just worked so closely together. And I think that that's why this film has got a lot of heart in it, because there was just a lot of people in our corner and our team that just held space for us as women, but also, you know, just as filmmakers to tell this story and yeah, come from a more of a subtle sort of way of discussion about FGM.
Yeah, I thought it was very effective, and I'm actually like, my mind is blown that they weren't like real actors. It was just so authentic and real, and wow. So let's go to Samantha and Tammy. So, you know, tell me a little bit about what was it like working on this project. Kudos to the cinematography, very beautiful, made me miss LA. And the music, the graphics, like I've seen, you know, films where, you know, there's texting, but not like yours, and the sound effects, loved it. Please, like, tell me what it was like working together, and, you know, casting and all of that good stuff.
Sure. So I'm Tammy Minoff. I didn't introduce myself, but I'm the director of Spell It Out in Neon. So Samantha and I have known each other for years. She originally brought this script into my class. I work with actors and teach. Well, I did until I had a baby. And
oh, congratulations.
Thank you. He's almost 2.5. So, but I'll still take the congratulations. So I was teaching for many years and a filmmaker, and she brought it into this something that she had written, and I encouraged her to keep writing. I thought there's something interesting here. And she developed it, and we workshopped it with our little group of actors. And Sam, feel free to jump in and cut me off anywhere you want.
At some point, I'll take over in a moment.
Okay, please. Great. Okay. So at some point she was like, I'm ready to make this. And I said, great. And she asked me if I'd be interested in directing. I had just finished my first feature, which was about to come out. We got distribution for, which is very exciting for a first-time filmmaker, as
incredible,
as you all know. And so that was happening, and I said, I'd love to direct this. That would be fantastic, but you know, I think our timing's not going to work out because I'm having a baby. But do your thing. If you're still raising money and doing all the things that go into the really, really hard work of making a film, if the timing works out, I'd love to. And it did. So, because it always takes longer than you think, as I'm sure you all agree with. And so at that point, we brought our producers on board, somebody I had worked with, David Fickus at Drama 3-4, and started, you know, our pre-production. Our cinematographer, thank you, who you mentioned, is Chloe Weaver Bennett, I guess now, who worked on my feature with me. She's rad. We had an all-female camera crew, which I was super pumped to have as our, for so many reasons. Well, mostly because they're rad and awesome and super talented. You know, I think people are always like, oh yeah, you know, what's your number one reason for wanting to work with someone? And that's always it. so they're fantastic. And yeah, we shot it in 2 days. We had right before the pandemic and we were
COVID.
locked down. And then we were ready to jump into the editing room and we all couldn't see each other. And so
Right. So that's kind of when the graphics came into play because we had an idea. Tammy came up with this idea of like adding more because we knew that Beth was an artist and we knew that we wanted to figure out the art part in the end, but we needed a way to tie it all together. So Tammy came up with the idea of thoughts because I kept going, I don't like narration. I don't want narration. Let's find a way around Beth talking her, her poems because we wanted the truth poems to be part of the film, which is a street art project that I also do. I write poetry and put it up around Los Angeles.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But the graphics seemed like a really interesting way to tie in the art. And then we went into lockdown and we had to do editing and kind of like this. Tammy was probably way more involved in that because she's the director of the project. And I kind of got to come in later and be like, oh, wow, that looks really cool. But we came up with the text conversations. There were some in the original draft, but we really expanded on that when we realized that we weren't going to be able to grab our other lead actor, Daniel David Stewart, and like run around Los Angeles and, grab different shots of us to kind of develop that relationship more. So we went ahead and dove into the texting between Maddie and Beth. And that's kind of how all that came out. And then our graphics are so awesome. I love them so much because our editor and graphic designer, Bryce Beckham, hand drew every single one of those little emojis.
Oh,
Wow.
they're not
Mind blowing.
By the way, so I felt a little bit bad because I was like, hey, this is what we need to make this work. We need to animate them. We need them to be cool. I don't want it to be just like regular old emojis. Like there's this style to this film. Let's do this. And he was like, okay. And then at some point during our post process, he was like, okay, I can add more. He goes, Tammy, you realize like I was like, oh, I had no idea. I felt really bad. I was like, oops, this was a lot of work. But it was worth it. I certainly think it helps tell our story and makes the look of the project cohesive. And it's one of the challenges in like making, I think, modern characters in the dating world. Everyone's texting. How do you make that interesting on film? And I vowed never to shoot actual texting on a phone because that happened in my feature. And I was like, I will never do this again. So I was like, okay, if we're going to have this, we have to make it its own character and part of the story. So it's not just reading words on a screen. Like that's not interesting. So that was definitely a big part of our post process. And it was one of those situations where because of our limitations, it kind of forced us to be creative. So I love when that happens.
I thought it was very, very cool. Even the sound of congratulations. I loved it. I've never seen texting graphics like that. Like I do have my own opinions about texting in films, but you guys nailed it. Love it. Trademark it. So Daniela, Caitlin, tell us more about your project, casting, any hurdles. I forgot to even mention, were these shot during COVID? Like that whole thing, just like, it's like it never happened in my head, but please tell us more about your project.
We did shoot during COVID and it was like the hottest, right, Danielle? It was like the hottest day in November, actually. We were ready to be cold outside, but it was like really hot out. So that was fun. But Sam Bennett is actually a feature that I wrote during COVID. And it was a really long feature film and I showed it to Daniela. Daniela loved it. Daniela and I had worked together on a play. So that's how we met. Now we're good friends. And so I was acting and she was directing and I was like, wow, she's like actually like kind of smart and cool. So and I wrote a feature. I was like, do you want to direct it? She was like, sure. And some people said, why don't you try making a proof of concept, to show. So I wrote this actually as a separate piece for the feature, but it features two of the main characters, which are Sam and Nick. So that was my end of it. And Daniela, what do you remember from the shoot?
Mostly I remember that you took a chance on me as a director.
Really?
Caitlin mentioned that we worked together on a play. I'm actually mostly a theater director. So when Caitlin came to me with the script, I was like, I love this. And like, if you want to trust me with it, I will do my damnedest. But you should know that I have basically no film directing experience at all. Yeah, I mostly just remember it being like really exciting to, it was like my second film ever. My first film was a student film that like super sucked, and I take credit for how terrible it was. And so after, you know, a multi-year grieving period where I was like, I'll never do that again, Caitlin believed in me enough to kind of like coax me out of that shell. And the experience was really great. It was really fun. We had a long day, but like a really good day where everyone I think was like on top of it and vibing. And the actors were fantastic. Obviously, Caitlin was in it. She was amazing. But like also the actors that we cast in it kind of like around her were also awesome. And I think we brought a lot to the table. So yeah, it was a really positive experience overall.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And also that you wouldn't know Daniela was a theater director when she was on set. She was very good with the monitor. And I also think that because she was a theater director, that was sort of why I liked her for the piece, because the piece is so character driven that a lot of film directors, you know, not dissing film directors or anything, but that like it would be all about the shot, and as much as important as that is, it was a lot of me trusting her, because I feel like I tend to freak out when I have to play a character that I wrote, because I like work, you know, I have to I'm not interpreting somebody else, I'm interpreting myself, and that's very difficult for me. And so it was great that Daniela came over to me at one point and she was like, how are you doing? And I was like, and she's like, that's fine. And then it's just, she's just very natural. She's very natural with actors. Like, it's just not even something that she needs to try to be good at. She's just good at it. So I think that's why the performances in the film are so good, because of her and because of her background. So I actually saw it as a positive. That's what I was trying to say.
I appreciate that.
That's amazing. And we do have another guest with us, Shannon. Thank you for joining us. Please introduce yourself and your film.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shannon Harris. My film is called Grist. I wrote it, produced it, directed it, and I play one of the lead characters in it. It's a two-hander. And just as a heads up, I'm like sort of on a break at work. I work as a sub, so interpret that how you will.
And there's so many, I feel like there's in this room, there's a lot of like actor writers, actor directors, like everyone's kind of just doing everything. I personally don't think I could ever act and direct something and write anything like all at once. I am very, very interested in your experiences with that. I really adore anyone who can do it. Like, you know, just starting out or like establishing their career, because I just know my brain and I don't think I would be able to do it. So Shannon, do you want to start with how that was? Was this your first time wearing many hats on and off of the screen? And yeah, just take it away.
Yeah, so this was actually my second short film. Grist is the second in a planned 3-part series of shorts based on idioms. And my first film, Three Birds, I completed it in September of 2019, and I did the same thing. I wrote it, directed it, produced it, and played the lead actor. So it's a lot of work. It's very, very difficult, but a lot of fun and absolutely a labor of love. And I did feel better about it the second time around when I was shooting Grist. The interesting thing, so in terms of juggling it all, I mean, you know, I'm pretty type A, as you know, maybe some other people can relate, and sort of super organized and able to compartmentalize. So that's really what helped me to wear all the different hats. You know, definitely a lot of meticulous planning in terms of the production day, but also in pre-production. The other thing that was super helpful for me as well was just having a really great team, particularly on the day of, really being able to choose the right people to be able to delegate so that I had one of my friends who worked in sales and was, working as a background actor and came on as a background actor as well, was my production unit manager, for instance. One of my friends who I had enlisted to help me with my first film, was my co-director and assistant director on my first film, for instance. So I learned a lot, in that, from that first film that I was able to then translate to my second one. And so that when I, was recruiting people to help me the second time around, my co-executive producer ended up being my AD on set, and et cetera, and et cetera. And again, I just, really compartmentalize when I need to, in terms of the director hat versus the producer hat. The writing piece is a little bit less sort of, that's kind of the quote unquote easy part, right? Because, by the time you get to pre-production, you want your script to really be solid. Not that you're not still making some tweaks, which I was pretty much up to shooting. But that part was sort of like done and put to the side. But the other things required some maneuvering. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I think you really did answer it though, because I cannot compartmentalize for the life of me. And that's why I can't do it. But was it, Samantha, did you find yourself kind of doing the same thing, or, like taking yourself out of the character or putting yourself completely in the character that you wrote, or what was that like for you?
Well, I was very grateful that Tammy came on board, because Tammy's been a mentor of mine for a really long time. And I'm happy to say also a friend, but thank you. With her like leading the charge, I was not as worried. I was terrified. Like day of, I was terrified, just because I knew how much work I had put into this going into it, and all the money that that I had raised and put in myself to make this project a reality. So like I felt that on my, like the weight of that on my shoulders, but Tammy was very helpful in, just saying like, Sam, shut up. We're not worried about that right now.
Hopefully it was a little bit kinder than that. But yeah, I mean, Sam was fabulous. But, on my feature that I made, I wrote, directed, and was one of the 2 stars of, and it's really hard to wear all those hats. I think that, and I love hearing what all you guys are doing, and I'm a theater person too, so I think of that as an asset. By the way, that's what I started doing. I love it. I hope that actors would say I'm an actor's director, because that's how I feel. And I think that it's so important when you're creating that environment where actors can feel like they can get lost and just go for it and really put their heart and soul into it. But yeah, I fully agree. You have to be able to compartmentalize to do all the things. And that's hard. And you have to have the right support team and people around you. And you have to be able to say things like, don't tell me about that right now. We're about to roll, like deal with it and come back to it. But it certainly takes a certain temperament. So I was really happy on this to just be focused on directing. And I had Sam and Daniel, our other actor, were both fantastic. We workshopped this, we rehearsed, because I love rehearsal. Again, like that's my theater background. And so that by the time we got to set, they could just play, and they trusted each other, and we developed all of that. But I tried to make it cool for them. So, Sam was producing and had written, and so it was her baby. So I was trying to be like, don't worry about all this stuff. We got it. Like, I tried to tell everyone else, please don't tell her that there's a problem. Just go fix the problem or come harass me.
Very true. I will say, Daniel actually said something when in one of our rehearsals or talks or whatever, because we met up a couple times to like talk about his character and my character. And he was reading it and he's like, oh, wait, you wrote this off of personal experience? Oh, cool. So Beth. So she's like in your bones. And then when he said that, I was like, oh yeah, I need to just stop doing like weird actor freak out. And Beth is me and she is in my bones. So I'm just going to like take a moment and chill, and we're good. So that was super helpful.
That's incredible. And then Alana, I am very curious, about your background. Are you an actress? But also just, working with the non-actors, because I know that's a challenge within itself, because they may not know where to look, or like, oh my gosh, don't look into the camera, like it's not a picture, like you don't want that, and or how to carry the emotion, or even like, what did you tell her, or what was that moment where she started crying, because that moved me, and I'm just shocked that hopefully she's acting now, because she was
I think
amazing.
that may have scarred her a little bit, actually. I think she needed a bit of a break afterwards. I think, yeah, it was definitely, for her first acting experience, it was well and truly in the deep end. Yeah, I actually started out as an actor. So many years ago, which seems like now. I've done a lot of actors training, and after working, professionally, I just started watching the crew, and I was like, I think I can do this. And I think that that's what then led me to, going to uni and going to school. And I just fell in love with directing from then. But I am so grateful that I had that experience acting and having all that, not only just, training as an actor, but just seeing how so many actors work. And I think that that's like one of the biggest traps is like new directors get caught in, is that like once they sort of know one actor and they're like, cool, I've directed that type of actor, then they might get another actor and they're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. So I think for me, I was willing to take a risk on people that had never had any experience before, because I knew that I could bring out something in them if they had an open heart and were willing to trust the process. So that was kind of my two things in the auditions that I was looking for, is just people that had an open heart and empathy for the characters, and then were also willing to trust the process of finding these characters. And so we did a lot of rehearsals, and Halima, who was our lead Zara, she was so beautiful, and really there was some things I put her through to ground herself, and probably sounded very strange to her not having any experience in that, but she was just wonderful. And then we did get her onto set, but then there's the challenges of not just having me in a room, but having all these cameras and lights and people walking past on the street, and that final scene is in the street, and she really did start to shut down. And I knew that I had to make it safe for her to open up. And so I ended up actually, having a little breakdown on the street in front of the camera. I just stepped in front of the camera and I just, showed her that it was okay. It's okay to look ugly. It's okay to cry. It's okay to, none of these people are judging you. The crew's got your back. I think the crew were a little freaked out that they're like, what's the director having this, meltdown on her? But then once they saw what I was doing and how she relaxed into her body, and, I was like, if I, show her the worst possible outcome of people staring, then she's going to be fine, So I think I would never ask an actor to do anything that I wasn't brave enough to do. And so I had to kind of show her that it's okay and that everyone's safe here, and you're safe and your body's safe. And we got that beautiful shot at the end of her, really sort of owning that character in those circumstances.
Wow. I just think about it and it gives me chills, and just hearing your process and just trusting each other, just chills all over. So I guess now my next question would be, coming from narratives or stories that are female driven, and it's told from a female perspective, in front of the camera, behind the camera, written, what themes, or this is a question for everybody, but what do you want your audience to take away from your projects? And really, and especially for the women in the audience, this is an open question, so I guess whoever wants to go first can go for it.
I feel that was something that was at the forefront of my brain when I wrote it. I'm 26. I graduated right around the time of the Me Too era, and it was also the time that I started screenwriting. In the feature script, what I really explore and what I also explore in the short is how feminism can sort of fail the individual in a way. And so I think it's hard to write a story about a woman without even thinking, like a modern person, without thinking what is their relationship to feminism, this thing that sort of exists to advance women, right? But it makes no room for you as a person. And so that was something that Danielle and I even talk about all the time. There are so many, there are women who are women, but they're horrible feminists, and it's so hard for any of us to live up to those principles. So I think, that would be my answer, is that exploring a woman in this modern context in the United States, no matter what she does, right, no matter what career she's chosen, no matter what life choice she's chosen, she is encountering whatever feminism has sort of presented to her, and sort of what her relationship is with feminism as well, and how she can live up to those, if she can even live up to those ridiculous standards, so it's crazy.
For me, I think the main thing that I would want my audience to take away, and women in particular, is the idea of saving yourself. That's kind of the, that's like the broad perspective or the broad way of putting it. But, both of the characters in my shorts are free Black women who are not people pleasers, who are not sort of idealized portraits of humanity, you know what I mean, let alone quote unquote womanhood. They are people who march to the beat of their own drum, and who are unapologetic. And it was really, and when I was writing this script, in the first one as well, I wasn't thinking I'm gonna write this, right? I was essentially writing two characters that are, proxies to me, and really just wanting to tell a story. And thankfully it just so happened that that the two stories have that thing, that sort of theme in mind, that of really just doing what you need to do to keep yourself safe, doing what you need to do without worrying about what other people think of you. I'm proud of both of these characters for that reason, that these are women who people might kind of like turn their nose up at, but that's life, and that's real. And they're doing what they need to do they're walking in their power. And that's the most important thing to me, in terms of what is coming across in my film.
For me, it was really important that someone or a woman leaves this film knowing that it's okay to put herself first, and to make sure that she understands that she does not have to be anybody in relation to somebody else, especially a man in our case. So it was really important for me to get that across to our audience, and also something for me to take away and learn through this entire process for myself. So yeah.
Alana?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
Like I said, it's 3 a.m. and I did just start to fall asleep a little bit. Yeah, I think for us, it was definitely about, we wanted audiences to be brave enough to ask questions about the world around them. One of the biggest things is that we wanted to sort of speak to Australians, is that this isn't just something that's happening overseas, that this is happening in our backyard as well. And it takes bravery to have these tough conversations, uncomfortable conversations. And we copped it the whole way through, the process of this film. People were kind of like, oh, I don't really want to, oh, yeah, okay. So we were used to it, but we're just asking people to just push through that little bit of uncomfortableness for the greater good of, humanity, and just to all the women and children that, have experienced this, that you are seen and you are heard.
So what do you think is next for all of your projects? Like, I know some of you are, maybe the short was like a proof of concept for a larger body of work. I hear that one of these films is like a trilogy, one of three. You know, are you still writing? Are you still directing? Like, what's next for this film and just for the future? And this is again a question for everybody.
So Grist is a self-contained piece, but again, I'm planning it to be a part of a trilogy. The first film's already done. What I do intend to do with it, because among the other themes that are explored in the film, intimate partner violence is explored. Sex positivity is one of the themes, as well as hookup culture. And either as part of / during the festival run and or shortly thereafter, I want to explore possibly finding some distribution channels in the advocacy and education space, because I've had multiple people tell me that it would be a great discussion tool for teens, and particularly around dating and dating violence and that sort of thing. I do also have the third script written for the trilogy, which I might start pre-production for as early as 2021. But for now, I am an actor, so I'm constantly auditioning, and obviously I have a day job, a full-time day job that's flexible, thank God. You know, so filmmaking, production, and et cetera, it's just on the back burner for me for now. But you know, unless inspiration strikes, the next film that I'll be working on is the third one in this series.
For us, it's making the feature. Like, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, and yeah, we're really hoping like people like Sam. We hope people like Nick. We hope that they will, you know, make you know, that we'll be premiering at some point. But yeah, we're just still in development for that, and we're also very excited, you know, because I think the proof of concept was sort of getting our feet wet. You know, we were so sad when the shoot day was over. We shot it all in a day, and we were very sad. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, it was a very crazy day. We had an excellent AD who I highly recommend. I'm going to plug her, my friend Gatika Kumar, who's a DP primarily, but she was first ADing. She's 22 years old at the time, just plowed us through. We had like, I think it was 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. We were out and we got the whole film done. Sorry. But yeah, but in terms of where the film's going, yeah, there were people on the team we really liked, we really vibed with. And so for me and Daniela, it's shooting the thing and getting it done. We're both in New York. We want to shoot it in New York. So hoping next summer or the summer after that, we'll have the money to just get started. And yeah.
That's amazing.
I'm not quite sure what's next for Beth and Brian. I know there's more to their story, but I don't know what we're going to do with it yet. But we just started our festival run, so that's kind of where my head's at right now, is traveling along with this little film at the moment.
Yeah, I've told Sam that I think this certainly has potential if she wants to write it, make a feature out of it. I think there's more, but I know she's working on some other scripts. I have my screenplay. I have 2 screenplays that other features I'm writing, and then I'm developing a show with my producing partner, a comedy. So lots of stuff, you know. You see which one turns up first, but I hope she makes this into a feature because I think it would be fabulous.
And yeah, for us, Balan, our writer, is currently writing a feature for this. So that would be really exciting if we could get that up and running. But both of us and our cinematographer actually are in a new collective based in Melbourne here. So we're sort of in pre-production for other stuff. So as you all know, it's kind of multitasking a million things at once. So yeah, we'll just kind of see where it goes. But at the moment, we're just enjoying our festival run, and we're just happy to, yeah, sort of see where it goes.
That is so exciting. I'm very excited to see where your films end up, or, you know, like all of you had such amazing films and just stories to tell, and just different methods of, you know, telling the stories. And a common theme that I'm hearing is that, just acting background or acting in general, that kind of practice or experience really, really helps, which is something that I should explore as a filmmaker, because I just don't want to be an actor, but it will help me, understand the process. And I applaud all of you for, finding film, like a medium or in film, and exploring it and going there with it. And I've learned so much from this 45 minutes. Wish we could talk longer, but yeah, all of you are so incredible. I'm just in awe to be in this virtual room with all of you. And I can't wait to see what's next for all of you.
Thank you so much for having us. This was really fun.